tonight. According to reports, body parts of slain journalist Jamal Khashoggi have been found. It's understood they were found inside the garden of the Saudi Consul General's residence, not far from the consulate. He's been missing since the 2nd of October. For more on the story, we're joined by our U.S. correspondent, Mary McCarthy. Mary, good evening. Firstly, what do we know about the search that had taken place that led to the discovery of these body parts, as is being reported by Sky News?
Yeah, that's exactly right. It's important to point out that this is being reported by the British-based Sky News that Jamal Khashoggi's body parts have been found in the garden of the Consul General's home, the Saudi Consul General, of course, in Istanbul, a home that's located very close to the consulate, about 500 yards away from where this horrific murder seems to have been carried out. We don't have official confirmation from anyone that that is indeed the case. We can expect that likely at least some developments to be coming on that within the coming hours. What we do know, of course, is what Turkish Prime Minister Recep Tayyip Erdogan said in his speech to Parliament, in which he said for the first time officially on the record that Turkey believes this was an outright murder, an outright execution carried out on their soil, even if it was in the Saudi Consul General's office. When he gave that speech just hours before the news came of the body parts allegedly being found, he did not give any specifics on the location of the body. He did say that he believes that the Saudis who flew into Istanbul the day before this murder was carried out, that they carried out reconnaissance missions both on the outskirts of Istanbul and further out, about 50 kilometers from the city, implying that perhaps they were looking for places to hide a body, but he did not give any specifics on what the Turkish government actually knows. So many questions still remain in what, regardless of where the body actually turns out to have been or what the conditions it's in, it's a gruesome story all around.
Absolutely. And today, the family, Jamal's family, was invited to the palace where they were offered condolences officially. What do we know about what came out of that meeting as these questions hang over this particular case? Do we know if there was an opportunity for the family to ask some of these pressing questions around how, firstly, their son and their brother died?
Really quite surprising to see those images coming out of Riyadh of Jamal Khashoggi's eldest son and some other of his family members in Saudi Arabia meeting with the Crown Prince Mohammed bin Salman, shaking hands in front of the cameras. This on the very day that this highly awaited Saudi finance conference, the Davos in the Desert, was opening, and a really jarring contrast with what we're hearing, of course, from Istanbul and the reactions to the actual murder of Jamal Khashoggi. So we don't know we don't know anything more at this point, other than that Saudi Arabia still isn't giving the full story, according to Turkish officials. We also know that President Trump has dispatched his CIA chief, Gina Haspel, to Istanbul to reportedly come back with more answers about the full story of what happened. And interestingly, in Washington this morning, we heard the first very strong statement on this out of the Trump administration, coming not from Trump himself, but from his vice president, Mike Pence, speaking at an event hosted by the Washington Post. Of course, that's the newspaper that was employing Jamal Khashoggi at the time of his death. And Mike Pence, for the first time, said the U.S. is expecting full answers and that there will be consequences from America and from the world community if we don't get this, in terms of the full story of how a Western-employed journalist, a human being, could be treated this way, and that at this point it looks like Riyadh might be expecting the world to simply close their eyes and look away.
All right. Well, certainly a story that will continue to stay in the news. Our U.S. correspondent, Mary McCarthy.